me ask you something bold. When was the last time you felt joy that wasn't tied to someone else's expectations, someone else's need, or someone else's timeline? What if I told you that joy isn't a bonus, that it is your birthright? Welcome to Rollerset to Mindset. I'm Angela, your host, and today we are going to be talking about the principle of bliss, the biblical principle of bliss, and how God designed you as a woman 50 and over to not only walk in peace, but to bloom with joy. If that intro excites you, then you are definitely in the right place, and we are going to have a good time with this episode today. So let's begin with this. Let's begin with the understanding that joy isn't a luxury, because some of us feel that it is. But it is not. It is not a luxury. Joy is a promise. And you do not have to take my word for it, because it is written in Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10. The joy of the Lord is your strength. That is written. That lets us know that joy is foundational, that it is tied into the creation of this universe, of this world. It's built into our creation. Women, men, children. It's built in. It's foundational. It's eternal. And it is not a reward for doing everything right. But what it is our birthright. So if something is our birthright, that tells me that it's not something that we have to chase. All we have to do is claim what is already ours. What do you feel about that? If that makes you uneasy, let me know in the comment. How does it feel to know that joy is your birthright? That when you were born into that inheritance. I don't know about you, but that excites me. That lets me know that regardless of how things may look, regardless of what I might be going through on any given day, that all of that stuff is temporary, and that all I have to do, and you have to do, is to remember who you are and remember what your birthright is. And all of that sounds good. I know it does, because it sounds good to me. But sometimes I find myself, and maybe you do too, I find myself questioning why, as a woman of 50 plus, have I forgotten that bliss belongs to me? Let me know, why have you forgotten? Why do you think you have forgotten that bliss belongs to you? And each time I ask that question, there's a couple of things that always come up. And you let me know by putting a 1 in the chat if this is you. People sometimes say that life just be lifing, that life often dims our joy, that life often dims our bliss. And granted, life can be challenging sometimes, but it wouldn't be life if it wasn't, right? Because I believe that our challenges come to help us grow, help us to become more than we were the day before. And so you might ask the question, what things in life that dims my joy? Well, I can name a few. Caregiving. Sometimes we are the caregiver of loved ones. Sometimes we are the caregivers of ill children or ill family member. And that could suck the joy out of us, even though we love them, even though we want to care for them. Sometimes being a caregiver can really suck the joy and the bliss out of you. I get that. Grief is another one I hear. When you have lost a loved one, a friend, a coworker that you care deeply about, grief can extract all of your joy. And you can sometimes feel like, I have nothing left. If that is you, put a 2 in the comments, because we all know what grief feels like. We all know what it can do to our joy, to our bliss. And then sometimes we get so caught up in and drained and bored by the routine of things. What do I mean by that? Well, we go to bed. We sleep through the night. Sometimes a good night's sleep time, sometimes interrupted sleep. We wake up. Sometimes we have our devotion, but it's most times it's preparation for work, trying to get out the house, to go to work, to go to our own businesses, and sometimes getting caught in traffic, rush hour traffic, you know, getting at work, having to deal with client, having to deal with fulfilling orders, having to deal with managing other people, getting off from work. Oh, back in traffic again, preparing dinner, having just a couple of minutes to wind down just for yourself. And then guess what? Get up, go to bed, get up and do it again. I get that. Being caught up in the routine of things, that can sometimes cause us to forget our own bliss, our own birthright of what bliss is supposed to do to and in our lives. Another thing women tell me about why we lose the fact that we deserve bliss, we forget that, is false belief. Because how many times have you heard, it's too late for me? I missed my moment. That's a big one. I've missed my moment. Or we hear from other people, oh, you should just be grateful. As if it's a crime to dream, to want more, to strive for more, to desire more. That can be discouraging. But when I read Isaiah 55:12, this is what it tells me, to let me know that all of that is false. It says, you shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. In other words, let your joy go before you. And you say, well, Angela, how do I even get the joy that I need? Well, you get that joy from spending time with God. You create 5-10 minutes of spending time with God before going out to your day, of developing that relationship with God before going about your day, filling yourself up with God's spirit, God's joy, his good words, his solid teachings. Find a way to fill yourself up so you can go out with that joy. And when you do that, peace leads you, regardless of what you might encounter along your day or in your day. When you filled yourself up first thing in the morning, first thing, that sets up the conditions for a better day. And it allows you to go forth with peace. So even if you encounter life, even if someone says something that's not very kind, you could hear it, but not let it penetrate you and just destroy your day. So the message I get from that is, you were never meant to settle. God called you to blossom. So you don't have to settle with life challenges. You don't have to settle with someone else's negativity or even your own negativity, because that's not why you were created. You were called to blossom in spite of the challenges, the negativity that you might encounter day in and day out. And with that knowing, it should prompt you to ask, well, how in the world can I get my joy, my bliss back? How can I reclaim that? If you are going to be all you can be, then you've got to hunger. You've got to hunger for how to reclaim that bliss, because it's still there. Maybe you've forgotten how to live in it, but if it's still there, then you can reclaim it. That's just like a plant on the surface. The leaves have fallen off, the plant has dried out. But if the roots are still strong, then you could bring that plant back to life. So you can reclaim your bliss, even though on the outside it may appear, or even in your headspace, you may tell yourself that your time has passed, that, the best that you could do is to just be grateful for what you've had in the past. You can reclaim that, honey. You can change that thing all the way around. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to activate your bliss. Bliss is the fourth pillar in my Fuller Lifestyle C³B Method, my coaching method. The first one is clarity, then there's courage, confidence, and bliss. Bliss is the fourth pillar. So I'm going to give you just a couple of pointers on how to reclaim your bliss. Anybody ready to hear that? Listen up. Write it down. Take some notes for me. The first one comes from Psalms 16 and 11. It lets me know that in God's presence is fullness of joy. In God's presence is fullness of joy. So spend time on the one who created you. Spend time with the one who is the definition of bliss. Draw from him. And when you do that, what you're doing is, number one, you're giving yourself permission. That scripture lets me know I don't need anyone else's permission to reclaim my bliss. I don't need anyone else's permission. Whose permission I need is the individual who gave it to me in the first place. So, number one, give yourself permission with the understanding that you don't need anyone else's permission to reclaim your bliss. The second thing I want to offer you about reclaiming your bliss, and maybe this is for you. If it is so, put yes in the comment, and that is this. Build a joy practice. Doesn't that sound exciting? Build a joy practice. How do you do that? Get creative. Start a joy journal. Get yourself a journal or some paper, something, paper and pen, and begin to write. Start a joy journal of some of the things that you can remember that brings you joy. It doesn't have to be anything bold or anything so creative, so out of this world. No, it could be something as cooking yourself a good meal. It could be something as taking a warm bath, a warm shower. Write down the things that brought you joy and bliss and helping you to feel special in the past. Write it down. Talk about an experience in your journal that made you feel more than, that helped you to see further than you had been seeing for yourself. Keep your journal. Review that journal. Continue to write in it. It will reinforce the bliss that is within you. Okay? Another practice you can do is Walk and talk with God. Something as simple as that. Walk and talk with God. And be yourself when you're doing it. The same way you would talk to a friend. He understands. And use your words. Talk out loud. Because what it does, it marinates. It marinates in your soul. It marinates in your spirit. And before you know it, you will be having a dialogue that will help you move through your day, that will help you overcome challenges, overcome negativity. That's what walking and talking with God will do. Or what you can do is read the Psalms. Oh, do you know how much good and how my attitude about life or situations have been shifted strictly from reading the Psalms? And the third thing that you can do to reclaim your bliss is guard your joy like a treasure. You want to keep negativity out of your life. Guard your heart, for that everything flows from it. So keep negativity at bay. And when you build a relationship with God, when you read His Word, when you allow His Word to marinate within you, what it does is that it acts as a shield, believe it or not. It acts as a shield, and it keeps negativity from penetrating you. Negativity may come around you, but because of you built yourself up with all the goodness of the goodness of the Lord and His Word, that negativity will not penetrate you unless you allow it in. You will keep it at bay simply because of what you filled yourself up with. And here's the thing I want you to get out of this. If you don't get anything else, I want you to remember this. Bliss is not a mood. Bliss is a lifestyle. You don't go in and out of bliss. You may have challenges. You may be disappointed. You may feel like I don't know if I could shake this one off, because you're basing it on your mood. You're basing it on feelings. But what I want you to remember is that bliss is a lifestyle. You go to bed with it. You wake up with it. You go through your day with it. Why? Because when you understand that being grateful changes everything. You might have some challenges along your day, but when you think about just the basic necessity, the ability to breathe on your own. Some people are walking around with oxygen tank. The ability to move your hand, move your fingers, the ability to just blank, move your eyes, the ability to speak and sound come out, the ability to hear the birds, hear someone's conversation, hear the laughter of a child. That's so much to be grateful for. And so when you live with an attitude of gratitude, it's a lifestyle. So what I want to encourage you to do is be anchored in that. Be anchored in bliss. Be anchored in God's gift of life, of hearing, of seeing, of smelling, of tasting. Even in the midst of chaos, when you create an attitude of gratitude, that allows bliss to be a lifestyle for you and not only a mood, not just a mood. I want you to understand this, that start to see yourself as being in a season of intentional joy cultivation. Did you get what I just said? Start looking at your life, at yourself, and Tell yourself, I'm in a season of intentional joy cultivation. If that doesn't keep negativity away, I don't know what will. So even if you have you run into a snag in your day, you can bounce back. You can snap back like a rubber band, knowing that the promise you made to yourself that you are living in a season of intentional joy cultivation. Listen, you can't beat that one with a 10-foot pole. And if you do, then repeat this quote. Remember this quote, write it down. Joy is a choice. Bliss is a strategy, and peace is a shield. Joy is a choice. It's totally up to you. Bliss is a strategy. Plan your bliss. From the time you go to bed, write down before you go to bed what your day is going to be like. Wake up reading that intention, and you go through your day with that intention. And when you do, peace is yours, and it acts as a shield. And when I tell you, you don't need to earn bliss, you already own it. But set yourself up for success. I know that's what I do. I set myself up for success. And do I win 100%, 100% of the time? No, I don't. But prepping for it, prepping for it prepares me for when it comes. And I'm of the persuasion that practice makes better, and it also makes permanent. The more you practice living in the joy cultivation, the more it becomes your reality. And I know that is the truth. So this is what I want to leave with you. May you walk into this season wrapped in the joy of the Lord. Okay? May your days be drenched in peace, and may your nights be filled with divine rest. May you bloom where you've been planted. Bloom where you've been planted. And may your spirit dance. Yes, dance into your next life chapter, because joy is what? Joy is your birthright. Peace is your portion, and bliss is your lifestyle. That's right. I want you to learn to make bliss a lifestyle. Why? Because you can. You absolutely can. And listen, this is how you can. You can begin by passing this message along. Invite someone you know to listen to this by sharing it out with them. Don't gatekeep it. Share it out with someone else. I guarantee you a sister could use it. I guarantee you they could use it. And I personally want to invite you to the Fuller Life Chapter Hub on School, a free community where we, women 50 plus, we're building this thing together. I can't do it without you. You can't do it without me. We can't do it without each other. We need each other. We need to help fortify one another, lift one another up. And so, remember, you weren't born to fade, so don't even try it. Don't even think about that. You are born to flourish. You are a seed that's been planted, and you are growing. One plants, one waters, and the Lord gives the increase. So stay joyful, stay bold, and stay you, the best side of you. I'll talk to you soon. Okay? Bye. Mwah.